Hi, and welcome to this video on making some track saw parallel guides. These guides are simple to build and you can get the parts to make them for less than $20. You also have to have some 1/2 inch and 3/4 inch plywood. I just use scrap to make mine. I have a set of step-by-step plans that detail all of the dimensions. You can get the plans on my Etsy store at Warrenton Woodworks, or you can get them, there's a link to them from my website, warrentonwoodworks.com. So I hope you'll check those out. So the way that I use these parallel guides is basically when I have a sheet to cut, and I'm just using this as an example, but I'll measure the distance of the cut. So if it's 16 inches, I'll make one mark on one side, I'll make the corresponding mark on the other end of the sheet. I'll line up the rubber cut edge from the track saw, and then I set the guides. I use one guide to set the length on the other one so they're the same. And then I know that when I use these to line up the track, that the track will, the cut line will be parallel to the reference line. Now, really where these things shine though is where you have multiple cuts. So if I had multiple cuts on panels at 16 inches, the first one takes a little bit longer to set up the distance on the guides. But after that, I don't have to do that again. I can just put the guides back, clamp them in place, make the cut, move the sheet, and keep going. And I get a whole series of panels cut at the right width. So if you're interested in building your own pair, I hope you'll stick around for the video. So the first thing I'm going to do is cut the rails. So my plans call for cutting the rails at 25 inches, and that's basically to accommodate the 24-inch T-track. You can make them longer if you get longer T-track, but they get a little bit unwieldy as they get longer. So I found that the 25-inch long rail works well for me. Now that all the parts are cut, I'm going to go ahead and drill the center hole in the top of the cleat. This hole is where the T-bolt will come up from the T-track and be secured with the T-knob. This will hold the cleat in place. So it just has to be in the center of the rail. Okay, so now we have to dado out the middle section for the T-track. The track is 3/4 of an inch thick, and I have a 3/4 of an inch wide router bit. I'm going to start with half of the distance. We'll go right around 3/16. I use one of the scrap pieces to test out the cuts before I actually cut them on here. So when cutting the dado in the rail, you have to have some way of knowing when to stop. The rail is 25 inches and the T-track is 24 inches, so the T-track will only come up about this far. So if we make a mark on our rail that's an inch back, which is basically where the T-track will go till, and then we use that mark as a reference on the knowing where how far we want our cut to go, then I'm going to make another mark on the top of the rail that's going to align with this side of my router table fence. So that way I'll know when to stop the cut. And I'll just transfer that line to the top of the rail. And so when we're making our cut, as we come along, at this point right there, that's when we stop. When this line is lined up with the router table fence opening. To adjust the final depth for the dado, the easiest thing to do is just use the T-track itself and make sure that the height of the router bit is the same as the height of the T-track. So this is the right height. It's flush with the top of the rail, and that'll be a good fit. So I wasn't paying super close attention to the plans, and I cut the side pieces for the cleats out of the 1/2 inch instead of the 3/4 inch material. These have to be the same height as the rails. So luckily I still have this leftover piece that I was using for the rails, and this will work just fine. I'll just cut off that portion that I test cut here, and then I'll cut 4 of these. So to finish off the rails, I'm going to go ahead and very carefully pre-drill some holes for these screws. Now I did sand off the tip of the screw because it's very close. So I think you can get a sense of how close it is if I slide out the track and then drop the screw in. I think you can see how close the top of the screw is to the bottom of the rail, and so that's why I sanded off all of the screw heads, because it's just too close. Actually, before I put these in, I'm going to go ahead and sand the rails, and so I'll basically be done with the rails, and I can build the cleats after that. So I'll just do a quick sand, and then I'll screw these down. Oh, and I also have to cut a chamfer on the top, and what that lets you do is when you're butting up against half inch piece of wood, if you have this chamfered like a 45 degree so that the front of the rail is half an inch, then it allows you to easily see if you're lining up the guide with the half-inch plywood that you're trying to cut. So I'll cut those and then I'll sand everything. So we're coming up half an inch from the bottom, and then 1/4 of an inch from the top. So getting this lined up and glued is super important to making sure that the rails or that the cleat is going to be perpendicular to the rail. So you want to keep the glue away from the rail. I do have paste wax on the rail, so that should help a little bit if some of it gets on it, but just get the excess glue off. So the bottoms are dry, and I'm just going to go ahead and glue the tops now. So you don't have to clamp these things super tight. The key thing is just getting it aligned, and you want to have this front edge like flush all along here. So I'm also gluing these up before I've cut the angle on the back. It's a lot easier to do that just to keep everything square. It's easier to get a really good perpendicular glue up here if this is a bigger piece in the back. So I will cut those once everything is dry. I'll cut those off. So I just finished cutting the backs off of the cleats, and I set up a stop on my miter saw. It's about 52.5 degrees the angle, but I didn't actually go with the angle. I just kind of, based on the plans, I measured in the distance in and from each of the two angles and just connected a line, and then based on that line I set my miter saw angle. And the stop, the nice thing about setting up the stop is you can just go through all 4 of them really quickly and have your cleats completed. Well, that'll finish up the parallel guides. I did sand and put some paste wax on the cleats, and they move up and down the rails nicely now. And in addition to that, when you tighten down the cleat, it's not going anywhere. So these are easy to build, and you can get the parts for them for probably under $20 when you cost it out. And in terms of the wood for these, this is for me it was all scrap, 3/4 inch and 1/2 inch plywood. It doesn't take a lot to build these. So I hope you'll consider buying my plans on my Etsy shop, and you can get there from my website, warrentonwoodworks.com, or you can just find them in Etsy if you search for parallel guides. my shop is also Warrenton Woodworks. So appreciate you watching my video and have a great day.